All right, but I want to steal something from Kevin Kaduk and Luke Stuckmeyer of the CHGO Sports Podcast, and I guess Lawrence Benedetto and Casey too. Oh, you got it. Bearish or bullish? All right. So if you're bearish, guys, it basically means you're selling,
and
if
confused,
you're
bullish,
bullish,
that I got it.
You're buying. I wasn't surprised, but it was just
coming
like,
at
hey,
me
look at
too.
you.
It's like a
Yeah, I know.
three-dimensional.
It's animated.
I know, right? I mean, we don't get these type of graphics. We have to steal it from other shows.
That was outrageous.
Good super chat here from Husky Bardo, because I kind of just wanted to ask this question, and this was what this whole segment was based around. So we'll kind of get some synergy here. How many guys do they need, or how many games do they need to be out for them to be sellers? Looks like the Twins lose again. How many games does it take to win this division? The question that I wanted to really ask you guys is based off of Jeff Passan's hit on ESPN 1000 today, where he said it wouldn't be something that would be popular in Chicago, but the white flag trade was the right move at the time. And if a situation arises where the White Sox are 2 to 3 games out at the deadline, it might be better long-term to do another white flag trade in 2023. Bearish or bullish?
They're going to be 2 to 3 games out by the end of July?
I guess that's the thing is, right, you know, I mean, you kind of fold in the whole entire question there, but if that situation arises, if they are in contention, because I think it probably makes that question a little bit easier to answer if they are 10 games under 500. Right. But even if they are still not in first place come trade deadline, have we seen enough to kind of decide what the future or what the destiny holds for the 2023 Sox?
Well, I'll say a couple of things, and this has a lot to do with what I wrote yesterday, so it's a nice plug. But I think
ALLCITY.com.
Of course.
It's
Memorial Day is traditionally that time of year when teams can evaluate whether this is something to be played out to the rest to playoff contention, or if it's going to be a deadline sale. The American League Central is doing the White Sox no favors when it comes to making that decision, because here they are with an objectively horrible record, right? So far beyond where they were last year when it was the end of the world, but they were 81-81. Now they're 10 games worse than that. And yet they're 7 games out of first place. Mm-hmm. I mean, they are in this right now. You can wait. You don't have to make that decision on Memorial Day. There's no deadline then, right? The deadline's at the end of July for a reason. As you just showed with several of those teams who have made the playoffs being in what seemed to be dire straits at this time of year. So that's a difficult question to answer. I don't know if it is about what their record is come July. It might be what the American League Central looks like, because, I mean, you got all these guys. I don't think you press the end button on this entire project when you can go win a division. I mean, I'm not going to sit here and tell you they're going to do it. I'm not going to sit here and say you should be watching this team because they might win the World Series. But to be able to chase down the Twins, that doesn't seem like the most unrealistic thing in the world. And if you're going to wave the white flag, so to speak, when that's possible with everything you've built here over the last few years, because here's another hypothetical situation. Yeah, they're not playing well, right? Or they haven't played super well to this point. Their record is awful. But what if they chase down the Twins, win the division? Maybe they get knocked out in the first round of the playoffs, but then guess what? All these guys are back next year, and then what if they're good then? And like, this project is not yet, there's no time of death on this project yet, I don't think.
I guess the thought, though, is with going to the Andrew Benintendi discussion and, you know, him kind of not being the piece for this team, right? He's a complementary piece. The real discussion is, you know, if you're waving the white flag, it's the pieces that are going to be leaving this team. So if you are selling off Lance Lynn or Lucas Giolito or, you know, Joe Kelly or Kendall Graveman or, you know, whomever, the team's going to be worse, but you're not trading Tim Anderson or Luis Robert, right? You're keeping the core still together. So is that waving the white flag? Are you trying to load up because you still think that this core could be something in 2024? Like, I guess it's really the severity of the pieces that get dealt. And maybe, you know, you're not technically waving the white flag at the trade deadline because you're not trading Tim Anderson, but you are dealing Lance Lynn because, you know, Lance Lynn might not be a part of this team's plans for 2024 regardless.
I think to answer Husky Bardo's question initially, I don't know. Like, they could be as many games out as they are now, 7, and I would be like, you could still get this division. It's not that great. And I don't agree with the white flag trade. It sucked. 3 games out and versus that Cleveland team. Yeah, you might not have caught it, but to give up at that time, it had 2 full months of playing to go in games versus Cleveland itself. So I never liked that. It produced good results with the Kids Can Play team that won in 2000, but that's neither here nor there. I say no. Once you trade any of those players, Lucas or Lance or Joe Kelly or Kendall Graveman, etc., you're signaling to the rest of the league like this is over. Like we're not coming back next year to do anything, because not only is Lucas leaving, via free agent or trade, more likely, you're probably not going to re-sign Mike Clevenger depending on what's going on. So you only have 2 guys coming back from the starting rotation for next year. So no matter if you're going for it this year and just putting pedal to the metal, or you're trading off those guys, you're going to need 3 starters for next year for this White Sox team. So I would say that they can't trade off no matter what, because next year is going to be bad as far as starting pitchers, and they need as much positivity in this year that they can get. And I think also it signals to the 2 front office guys, hey, we're probably not going to let you do this again. We're probably not going to let you retool and rebuild this team again, because you already had 1 at least. 2, some would say. So, and you failed at both of them. So I would say putting the foot down to the pedal and going and acquiring extra bats or extra pitching would be more likely. I would like them to do that, other than trading off their assets and then trying to retool on the fly.
Yeah, I think that looks more likely where they are right now, and as I pointed out, that's where they are right now is not something to necessarily be super excited about, but it's far from being buried. And, in this division, there's a playoff spot out there to go be had. And them doing everything they can to go get that playoff spot seems more realistic to me than them just folding up shop if we get to July and they're still this or better, right? Mm-hmm. If we look up at it, or if we get to the 4th of July and they're 12 games out or 15 games out, it's a different story.
We've had the question though.
How would that happen? I mean, I'm not testing the fates. Don't make it happen, universe. Ugh.
I mean, they're closer to that than winning the division, right?
They are.
So I don't know. So that's more reality than them winning the division. That feels like more of the fantasy. Yeah, I would say I'm probably bearish on it. That's good.
Bearish is bad.
Down. Okay, yeah. I'll be bullish on it, because I think
bullish on them being bad.
I think I'm bullish on them still trading the expiring deals no matter what.
Oh,
because I feel at the deadline, I mean, we've talked about this. Lance Lynn, Lucas Giolito, they'll be coming up. Clevenger has no option, right?
Mutual option.
Yeah. Mutual option. Yeah. Maybe they pick it up. Maybe they don't. They have, for sure, 2 starting pitchers on the roster next year.
Cease and Kopech.
Yes. Kopech, and the one that would probably be a guy to slide in,
Just
Davis
had
Martin.
Tommy John surgery. Yeah.
Just had Tommy John. Garrett Crochet doesn't seem to be a starter at all, so really wouldn't put him in the mix there. So they have 2 for sure starters for the 2024 team.
Get starting pitching.
Why? Like, you couldn't try to turn Lance Lynn into 2 maybe starters and just get guys that can eat up innings, and maybe they're reclamation projects, but you take a shot at just arms. Like, I don't know. You
Jake Arrieta's, if you will.
Right. You deal Lucas Giolito and you try to get something, and maybe you try to get 4 somethings, and 2 of them turn into enough to be starters for the 2024 team. Like, I don't know. It's not going to make for the best playoff roster for 2023, but maybe it's doing the best for the 2024 team. I'm not sure though.
I'm going to get Dane Dunning again.
Go get Dane Dunning again. Yeah.
Right. I think that the best answer to the question, which is not really an answer, is they're in a spot where it's hard to tell. They're in a spot right now where it's hard to tell, because normally
11 games under 500 though.
In a normal division, 10 games under 500 would be all right. That's enough of this. But this is not a normal division. and they're only 7 games back of first place. They win tomorrow and the Twins lose tomorrow, they're only 6 games back. I mean, like, this is ground that can be made up. That is not an unclosable gap, and that's what I think makes this strange, because here we are basically at Memorial Day, and I don't know if Rick Hahn and Kenny Williams and Jerry Reinsdorf can make that decision yet.
Yeah, it's interesting, and what we've always talked about, the one thing that will make that decision maybe more clear for ownership would be if the wallet is affected. And in 2022, they had a $2 million gate, and John Greenberg tweeted this out earlier. These things fluctuate, of course, but after the Sox homestand, they're showing the biggest year-over-year per game attendance decline in baseball at 5,379 people. That's a 23.4% decline from last year through 25 games compared to last year. And, of course, I like this. Sox fans do not have the TWTW, the will to watch. So.
Wow, Greenberg.
Yeah. Why he's a writer.
Well written.
But yeah, I mean, that's the thing is, if this team starts winning, maybe we'll see that attendance flip and more people will want to go watch the White Sox. But if they're going to be 11 games under 500, and that's going to be, kind of just 9 games, 11 games, 10 games, like I do think that, we'll probably get a clear decision by June and early July if this is the status quo.
What I would say too is there anybody that's surprised by those attendance numbers?
No.
Because what? Because a rise in 2022 attendance is based on the fact that they won the division in 2021. Mm-hmm. A drop in 2023 attendance based on the fact that they had what Rick Hahn called the most disappointing season of the careers of most of the people that work for the team. That is to be expected. They need to do what Rick Hahn said. I think that the use of that phrase, win the fans' trusts back, is a little overblown, is a little overwrought perhaps, but they're not going to put butts in the seats unless they start winning. And right now, we're talking about a team that's 11 games under 500.